Hi, Stephen Hand from Staccato in Hobart. I'm here today in front of the beautiful backdrop of our wonderful mountain. What mountain, you say? Well, the one we can't see behind us because of all the smoke from the bushfires. A few weeks ago I did a video on what cuts work with a rapier and which don't, and I focused on putting correct number of layers of cloth to simulate clothing of the period on top of meat, and I wanted to do the same thing with some cuts with a broad or backsword. Now this is a backsword which I've sharpened up, and you may recognise it as the one that appears in the opening sequence for all of our videos. It's getting a bit long in the tooth, it's got a crack, it's got a broken rivet here, and I just decided to retire it before it got too banged up. Now I've put an edge on it. It's got quite a good edge, as I found out when I was finishing sharpening it the other day, so I can assure you it's got a very good edge. And what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to look at arm cuts. I want to focus on arm cuts because they're such a big part of any broadsword system. It's really hard to fight without a sword arm, and people are kind enough to stick it closer to you than any other part of their body. So it's something that gets hit over and over and over and over again in broadsword fencing. So let's attach the meat to the pell and see what we can do. All right, got a cut down in there. I might actually just pull the right, so there's not much of a cut here, and then when I pull it off, yeah, there doesn't seem to be much of a cut, but I noticed, you probably can't see, there's little bone fragments in there, and when I put it in, I've actually, even though I don't appear to have done much damage, I've clearly cut into the bone. This is one of the reasons I've retired this sword, is that it takes a set, so I'll get that out and try again. So this is the same cut without any clothing as protection. Oh yes. Oh yes. And there's a nick into my pell there. Wow, that's once again the difference that just a couple of layers of clothing make is extraordinary. I mean, that was pretty much exactly the same cut, and that's just shattered that bone. So I've just pared back the meat, and where I saw it cut into the bone earlier with the moulinet, you can see that it's cut quite deeply into the bone and down into the marrow, and I mean that's an injury you could potentially die from in the Middle Ages or the early modern period. So it seemed fairly trivial at the time, but could have been a whole lot more serious than we thought, even through clothing. And that's obviously the one without clothing. Bit of a difference, isn't there? A little bit of a cut there. Don't know that we're going to see a whole lot here. I really can't see any damage underneath. I don't know what there is. It'd be interesting to strip it back and see if there's any damage on the bone. Might just take that down and see what we can do with the see what we can do against no protection. And as you can see, once again, I went almost longitudinally down that bone, and that's cut, what's that? That's a good inch into the bone. Again, absolutely remarkable how much difference it makes. You know, that's the same cut, and this is, destroyed the limb. So again, remarkable how much difference it makes having a little bit of, just that tiny little bit of protection. Oh, that's a bit of a difference with a Fendente. Yeah, that's the first time I've really done damage through the. Wow, yeah, that's completely sheared the bone through. So I don't know why that was different from the Mandretta, the downright blow, but that's the bone there, and it's completely sheared through. So I don't think you're going to do an awful lot more damage. Maybe there was just a tiny bit more draw in that cut. You have to ask yourself how much damage you'd actually do to the, being hit that hard. How much that would actually, stop you functioning, even if it didn't go through the cloth. But that's, that you wouldn't be using that arm again. There's a tendon still attached there, but the bone's completely sheared through. And again, completely sheared through the bone. So that's, wow, that's just completely shattered the bone. One thing that really comes out of these experiments is just how protective even one layer of fabric, or in this case 3 layers, 1 layer of wool and 2 layers of linen, can be. Okay, there you go, broadsword cuts at a limb target.